guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. We're at a mysterious location. I know some people were complaining about me using undisclosed location, so now we're at a mysterious location because we have a mysterious kind of car. This is a 2020 Toyota Prius Prime. But before we dive into this hypermiler, the ultimate hypermiler, let's talk a little bit about the Prius. The Prius has been around, would you believe it's the 20th anniversary. It goes all the way back to 2000 when Toyota unveiled and released the Prius here in the United States. Boy, oh boy, did that really ignite a flame of competition amongst many different brands to compete against that hybrid setup known as the Prius. Now, it's interesting because as times have changed, the hybrid setup has found its way into other models within Toyota's lineup. And of course, we have full EV vehicles now that people are wanting to park in their garage. This Prius Prime is the only Prius that is a hybrid plug-in. So it's an electric hybrid plug-in combination for that fabled name, the Toyota Prius. So let's go ahead. We're gonna dive into this Prius Prime Limited and see, is it the ultimate hybrid sedan? Right off the bat, the styling, you're never gonna confuse a Prius with any other vehicle, and it really does have that experimental look to it. Looking at the headlights, you see we got everything on. You're gonna have on the limited trim, full LED headlights. I do like the way they shaped the housing, really slimmed it up. Even around the corner, you're gonna have more LED lighting trickling down like a nice waterfall effect. And then what's great is that there's no fake vents. The whole purpose of the Prius design is to cheat the air and really cut through it like a hot knife through butter. I do like the way they have a nice shape to the front fascia on the corners with all the lighting. As we come across that center grille, you can see it's all about aerodynamic efficiency. Now, instead of just having gloss black, it's sort of like almost a dark gray that has this clear coat over it, and I'm digging it. You do have the blue, obviously signifying that this is a hybrid vehicle. Even this flat black front lip here that extends down gives it almost, I'm barely gonna use the word, an aggressive look to this center area here. Now, when we get up onto the hood, you can see how everything kind of flows. Unique indentation on the top portion to help channel that air across and over the windshield. And then as we come around the bend on this limited trim, here's what we're working with on wheel and tire setup. So this is a 15-inch wheel, and if you look at it and you you'll notice that it makes a plastic sound. That's why there's actually a steel wheel behind here that's the same shape as the cover that's over it. So they put these covers to kind of make it a little bit more decorative, but there's actually a wheel behind here, which is great. Instead of just a hubcap, this is not actually just a hubcap, there's actually a wheel, the same design behind there. 15-inch, very small. We're trying to cut down on the rolling resistance, and these are those hyper-miling style tires from Dunlop. Real simple on the body lines. On the fenders, you have your plug-in hybrid badging. I think it's a perfect placement. I think it's a great size. Let people know that this is the Prime. This is not your standard Prius. You have color matched on the mirror caps, little bit of chrome shiny trim with this being a limited. Flat black across the top and bottom, little bit of gloss in the center. You can see the very unique body lines that kind of flow up towards the passenger door, fade away, and then another one is gonna come into the rear fender area. I do like the actual like floating roof design here. So you have this hatchback design, but then you have the gloss black here, which gives it a nice floating roof overall look. And then this is where it's gonna get really creative. If you're into unique styling, this Prius takes the cake. On the back hatch area, there's actually a concave dip. So as air is flowing across the roof, down against the hatch glass window, it's gonna just effortlessly just flow right off. Interesting design with the red from your lighting, the LED lighting. This is actually see-through. So that's gonna allow you from the driver's seat, when you're looking in your rearview mirror, you can look through the top and you can look through this bottom portion. Prius Prime badge, Autobots, let's roll out. We kind of drop down and you're gonna get very simplistic, just a flat black. You got your limited badge, and then what they did was they took the lighting, sort of like what they did up front, they brought it to the rear, but really just intricate design and really sparks your curiosity. But let's pop the hood and see what's powering this Prius Prime. All right, guys, we got the hood popped on this Prius Prime. You do have a prop rod, but the good news is it's all the way over to the passenger side, and you know what? Surprise, surprise, pretty tasteful on the engine cover. The bright silver works well with everything else being flat black and that hybrid Toyota badge. But what are we looking at underneath all of this plastic? You're looking at a 1.8 liter naturally aspirated inline four that's paired to 2 electric motors. It's going to produce 121 horsepower, 105 pound-feet of torque. It's all mated to a CVT transmission. Of course, the Prius Prime is front-wheel drive, lithium-ion batteries. The vehicle weighs 3,406 pounds. Acceleration is nothing really to write home about, but that's not why people buy any type of Prius. It's 0 to 60, 10 seconds. Top speed is governed to 101 miles per hour. The reason why people buy Priuses, especially this Prime, 55 in the city, 53 MPGs on the highway, 133 MPGEs, and you are able to get a 25-mile range on pure electric power. Now, when it comes to charging that lithium-ion battery, if you're using your household 120-volt system, that's 5.5 hours of charging. If you're going to use the 240, then it's going to take 2 hours to charge. And yes, this does have regenerative braking, but overall, very impressed with the miles per gallon that you're going to get, especially those MPGEs. But why don't we get to the interior and see what the Prius Prime Limited brings to the table. All right, guys, we're inside the 2020 Prius Prime Limited. I know you're at that point where you're like, Joe, I've had a sweet spot in my heart for the Prius. This plug-in Prime, this electric plug-in hybrid Prime is really checking off the boxes. How much is this limited? This one's fully loaded, so you're looking at an MSRP of $34,850. Let's see what you get for the money. Now, to the door panels, you're going to get very unique styling, just like the exterior. Up top, it's all soft, and then you have like a ceramic white center section, and as you drop down, you're going to have nicely padded armrests. Everything else is flat black, very, very small in the door panels. You might be able to get a powdered donut in there and a bottle of milk. Other than that, you're going to have to hold on to your Twinkies on your lap. Now, when you come to the dash, very, very futuristic styling. You have this softer material. Interesting how this lower portion has like a little bit of a tray, but the tray kind of slides down. So you might be able to put a Snicker bar here. That's about it. Let me open up the glove box. Not the largest, because the manual, this looks like the Bible. So the manual is actually the Bible, and that takes up a majority of the room in this Prius. But what I do like is that the gloss black is out of your way. It looks tasteful, and the silver trim, the way it all flows to the infotainment system, is really, really cool. The AC vents are nicely shaped. This is 11.6-inch infotainment system screen. You do have the gloss black around it, but nothing too crazy. What's nice is most of your features can be accessed just from the screen. You don't have to actually touch these other buttons. This does have the optional JBL sound system. The bad news is no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto. That to me is a major zonk, but you do have your navigation. Here's your AC controls. I could hit the home button here. That kind of clears everything else. We can go into info on the vehicle, energy use. So there is our lithium-ion battery out back. It shows that I have the AC on, your electric motor, your engine. We got our Prius Prime located up top. We could go back into AC control. So for the most part, it's fairly quick functioning. Here's a zonk that's a little bit of a bummer for me, is that the backup camera is very small. I wish that it actually was like half the screen at least, and you don't have any trajectory. So that is another zonk, to not have the trajectory, especially on a limited trim. But as you can see, the screen though, it's nicely set up to where it's not going to have glare. You could get into your temperature buttons. If you want to use these instead of going into the actual system, you could just use the switch gear. You do have your power on button, and then the actual shifter is this little tiny nub. Now let me explain this to you. You got reverse, neutral, and drive. If you're wondering, well, what's B? Is that like bake? Is there a bake accessory, like an easy bake oven in here? No, this is to actually control your regenerative braking. You do have different drive modes. That full EV mode, that's your park button. And then down below, you do have wireless charging. A little bit more gloss black, but the nice thing is it balances nice with this whole center section. Heated seats, no ventilated seats, 2 cup holders. Here is your key fob. They actually spruced it up with the Prime badge. A little bit of silver, but the cool thing is you could actually turn on the AC remotely, which is a nice feature. You got your 2 cup holders, you got a 12 volt USB and an aux jack that's hidden in there. Nice high armrest, and I like the padding on it. You open it up, it only opens my way. The good thing is you got a little party tray for some pistachios. Get them without the shell, because if you're throwing shells in here, it's gonna get really dirty. The space though, I would probably say 13 king size 3 Musketeer bars, because you're gonna have to put them in there long ways. You can't put them in there sideways or you're gonna hurt your 3 Musketeers, which nobody wants to do that. Seats, that off-white, very soft, the leatherette material with the gray, very tasteful. Now you have manual control for the passenger, but over here on the driver's side, I have full electric, no sunroof, and a very interesting, almost like a denim headliner. And the nice thing is with the lighter colors in here, it really makes it open and airy. Now, the business end, you're normally gonna come over here, but I could actually show you some of the business end. Victor's gonna come on in and sit down, and we're gonna take a look at this dash area up top. So come on in, Victor. All right, Victor has finally joined the party after some requesting of his entry into the vehicle. You'll notice that all the gauge instrumentation is up top. This has been the unique identity of the Prius. All the way to the far left, you have your fuel gauge, you have your speedometer, obviously telling us our average MPGs, which I've been averaging about 50 miles per gallon. Then you're gonna have the ability to scroll through different information next to the speedometer. Real easy to do. And then on top of that, you have your different drive modes. So there's power mode, eco mode, and normal. Now, when you go into power mode, you're gonna notice the regenerative braking a lot more. Next to that, to the right, it tells you what gear you're in. So you got reverse, your drive. We could go over to the regenerative braking area. And then to go back into park, I hit the P button. You have an old school Casio digital clock, which is fascinating. And then to the far, far right, it tells you about what safety features do you have turn on. Our blind spot monitoring, our parking assist. This does have semi systems that we'll go through once you come to the business end, but really, really interesting setup on the Prius. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Come on over to the business end. I'll show you behind the wheel of this Prius Prime. All right, guys, business time. Like I said, on the driver's side, you do get the power assisted seat with the lower lumbar. You're also gonna get a head-up display, and you're gonna get some really great features. You have the adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, all that good stuff. Here's the steering wheel. Steering wheel is very, very basic now. You do have a heated steering wheel, and you have these buttons that have like a metallic black finish to it. It's just the horn button is very, very simplistic, and there's a lot of that plastic down below here. It's a little weird, I'll be honest, it's a little weird sitting here without having the instrumentation. You can see how far that instrumentation is from where you're sitting, but it does really clean up your sight line out the front. But I like the touches, even to the AC vent. Look at how everything just has a nice oval flow to it, and it even has the Prius name on there. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to the back seat and see how your passenger is gonna enjoy hypermiling with you in your Prius Prime. All right, guys, backseat time in the Prius Prime. And what's great is even with that lithium-ion battery, because remember, the lithium-ion battery is basically underneath my rear end, you're still getting plenty of headroom here. They shaped the headliner perfectly that somebody 6 feet tall has the room. You do have that material, nice material all the way around. A little tight on the pocket area here, but you still have some room. Maybe get a couple books about Thomas Edison or Nikola Tesla, or even Preston Tucker. Have your kids learn about some history. It's important because history repeats itself. Back here, you do have, nicely done, 2 USBs. So I would have a couple USB powered flashlights so that your kids don't need the phone, and they could actually use the flashlight to read in the dark as they learn about some of those historical figures. And then, of course, you're going to get a nice armrest back here, 2 cup holders. Seats are actually comfy, which is really wonderful. But let's check out that hatch area and see how usable this Prius Prime really is. All right, guys, before we open up the rear hatch on our Prius Prime and the Autobots roll out of here, I just want to let you know, I know a lot of you are performance car aficionados and fanatics like I am. And a lot of times when you think performance cars, you think carbon fiber. This Prius Prime has carbon fiber, and it blows my mind. This rear hatch is the first hatch made and constructed from carbon fiber composite. Watch this. So we're gonna hit the button. There's no electric assist. You're gonna have to use your muscles, but it goes up very nicely. And there they left it exposed is the full carbon fiber composite rear hatch. Very unique, obviously, to help shed weight on this Prius Prime. Now, when it comes to the rear area, it's a little tight back here because of the lithium-ion battery that's located at the rear of the vehicle, but you still got plenty of width, and the seats are gonna fold down. If you're wondering, well, what's underneath this door? You actually have underneath this lid, that's your whole charging system. Remember, it takes a little over 5 hours to charge that on your home power source, your 120 volt. We do have your emergency Twinkie storage, because remember, you're not gonna be stopping for snacks as often, and you don't want somebody to get hangry in your car, so that you could easily put 4 Twinkies. And then on the other side, which this is like a little puzzle here, on the other side, you're gonna find you have an air compressor and the goo to fill up your tire with if you wind up getting a flat on the road. There is no spare tire with your Prius Prime. And then to put the seats down, it's actually fairly simple. You're just gonna push the button and then push the seat down, and then I'll lift up the security shade so Victor could show off how much space we have. So with the seats down, you can see that a longer, larger object can slide into the back of the Prius Prime with no problem, but carbon fiber, isn't that crazy? But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go get Optimus Prime and the rest of the Autobots and roll out in our very own Prius Prime. All right, guys, we've left our mysterious location and we are in a very mysterious car, the Prius Prime. Driving down the road, it's interesting because you have great visibility. The seats are comfy, especially for the driver's side. I wish Victor had some electric assist on his side just to get it to fit his body perfectly. But the nice thing is you do have electric assist on the driver's side of this limited trim. Having the dash where it's located with all the instrumentation, for me, it took a couple seconds to get used to it, but now after driving it for a few days, it is what it is, and it's fine. I can clearly see my speed and everything. We have it in sport mode just to spice things up a little bit, and I do have it in the shifter in B, which is for that extra regenerative braking. But visibility out the front is great. Out the back, it takes a little bit extra focus to get used to because you do have that major divide in the center, and I do like the way they put a dip in the middle. But on throttle, so obviously you're not going to get the usual Rady's Rides reaction to on throttle, but that's not what this is about. Where the reactions come from is as you're on a trip and you're not having to stop to get fuel, because this thing is going to allow you to have that maximum range where other vehicles, even other hybrids, are going to fall to the wayside and have to tap out. You can keep going because you are in a Prius Prime. The way everything is laid out makes perfect sense. I mean, Toyota does a great job when it comes to the location of their controls. And the only thing that this is really missing to make the interior really just stand out perfectly is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Especially it should have on the limited wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But the two-tone interior really does make everything kind of open and airy in here, and very, very futuristic. It does feel futuristic in this Prius Prime for sure with the way things are laid out. But I'm glad that everything is not in that 11.6-inch infotainment system screen. I'm glad that they have the other instrumentation across that gauge pod on the top of the dash. Brakes feel great, super smooth, and very quiet in here. The limited trim is very, very quiet inside the cabin, which is nice as well. You just hear the wind just a little bit of the wind kind of going around the vehicle, and that's about it. Changing lanes, not a big deal because the side mirrors are awesome. And I'm telling you, your passengers in the back seat, even with the lithium-ion battery, are going to have plenty of headroom. Steering wheel has a nice thickness to it, and there's actually pretty decent feedback coming to the steering wheel from the front end, which is nice. And it's a comfy car, because it needs to be comfortable, because you're going to be, if you're driving a long distance, you're not going to be getting out. So I think they did a great job. It's got the wireless charging, and I also like the way the center console area is very, very low. Interesting shift nub. I can't even call it a knob. It's more like a nub, but easy to figure out and easy to get to. I think that's the main key. And your passengers have those USBs in the back of the center console to charge whatever they need to charge, or power whatever they need to power. But hopefully this gave you a nice overall feel of what the Prius Prime is all about. I'm gonna be quiet for a second here. You hear that? Exactly, you're not hearing much. That's how quiet it is inside this Prius Prime. But we're gonna get back to our mysterious location and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been a really interesting day with this Prius Prime. You know, if you just sit down for a second and appreciate what the capability is of this vehicle when it comes to maximizing your miles per gallon, it really does do such a bang-up job, and it makes sense why it is celebrating a 20-year anniversary, especially with the Prime having that plug-in capability. I definitely want to thank Corey, Zach, and everybody over at Toyota USA for allowing Rady's Rides access to this Prius Prime. This is my first Prius Prime plug-in, say that 20 times fast, and it really did open my eyes to what it's all about when you're trying to really squeeze every drop out of those miles as you're driving down the road. But if you want to keep seeing fuel-saving vehicles, electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, and other vehicles that move your body, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description, get yourself some Rady's Rides merch. Got to give it up to Crown Vic. He's digging that carbon fiber on this Prius Prime, and now he wants to go get an Optimus Prime costume for Halloween. So we'll get you over to the Spirit Store, Victor, and just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.